Hi there, everybody, and Happy New Year. I'm really excited to be spending this day with everybody. I know it's been a very long holiday break for a lot of us, and I can't think of a better way to kick off the new year than to be delving into this information. So I hope that what I can share with you today will be helpful not only for yourself as a web center owner, but also for people on your team or especially for duplicating web centers within your organization, because the information on tonight's call is really key and pivotal to starting a new web center owner or even an intern off properly. If they don't understand the concept and the information behind tonight's topic, it's going to be very difficult for them to really launch their web center business. So yes, this information is going to be really key for yourself, but it's also going to be pivotal for you starting off new web center owners and new interns. So really, really excited about tonight's topic. I think it's one of the most important topics as it relates to the web center program, because our job is very simple. Our job is to set appointments, to sell the team of professionals, right? To sell the and edify the team of professionals at MA Web Centers with great prospects for a website. And if we can get that under control, then you'll succeed with web centers. So tonight's information is very valuable. I'm really excited about what we're going to be going over. Before we delve into what we're going to be talking about, let me just share a few quick reminders. All of our web center webinars are conducted on the first and third Tuesday of every single month. So if you have anybody that would like to register for these, or if you want to make it part of your, daily thing or your monthly thing that you plug into, you can go to MA website or mawc411.com. And then click on training and support and then webinars, and you can see there's the link there to register for these webinars. If you register once, you're registered for all of them. But anybody new, you want to have them register themselves, because what happens is when you log on, your name pops up under the attendee list, and then I can make sure I understand who I'm talking to when you ask questions. So the topic of the nightly webinar is going to be announced the day of on our Facebook page. So you want to make sure that you're a fan of MA Web Centers on Facebook, so that you can, check in there for that. And we're actually going to go over some other things that our Facebook page is going to be doing as well a little bit later on tonight. All right. We are recording the webinars and making them available online, um, as long as the recording comes out clear. So the last webinar that we did was actually the first time since we started this series that it didn't really record clearly. So we didn't upload that one, but I am going to upload the content for the PowerPoint. I will upload that to MAWC411, so that at least the information can be, downloaded and you guys can go into that. But the recording wasn't really great, so I didn't upload it. More reason to show up, as long as, if you can, to the live webinar, if possible. All right. And then finally, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to type them in the question box, and they will pop up on my admin over here, my control panel. And at the end of the webinar, I'm going to stay online and just, read the questions out loud that, would be relevant to the group, and I will answer them so everybody can hear the questions and hear the responses. I used to type out the responses, but I think it's actually more valuable if I just, talk through them so everybody can hear them. If you have any personal questions as it relates to the Web Center program, the most effective way for me to help you, an efficient way for me to help you, is just send me an email. My email is sararose@marketamerica.com. It's SARAHROSE at marketamerica.com. And if you send me an email there and it's like, related or pertaining to something that's more personalized, that's going to be the best way for me to get information to you, because right now my resources are limited. All right, so let's get started. We're going to be talking about how to implement the simple sales solution. Okay, so we're going to get really specific, because if you notice, this is not just about what the simple sales solution is, but it's about implementing it, right? So the most important thing in any part of your business is really implementation. You can understand the theories behind something all you want, but unless you're implementing those theories to put them to work, that's really not going to make any difference to you. So what we're going to be talking about is very briefly talking to you about what the simple sales solution is, and then we're going to talk about what you do to actually make it happen, to make it work. We're going to talk about the types of names lists that you want to generate. And then we're going to talk about two types of approaches that use the simple sales solution. Really, it's two types of commitment levels, right? And we'll get into that more specifically when we get there. We're going to talk about how to position yourself and what you should actually say to the people on your names list, and how you can go ahead and set appointments and what that process looks like. So there are three columns in the names list that we work with simple sales. And so part of tonight, I'm going to actually give you three separate examples for things that you could say to people in those three different names list columns, because I think that just maybe hearing an example of what a conversation could go like when you contact someone in each of those names lists, that might be really helpful to, get rid of some of the jitters. I'll very, very briefly go through how to physically use the sales calendar. And then we're going to move into more important things like how do you build value with simple sales, right? So building value is key, right? Because we want to make sure that we're setting appointments that are of value, that have a high probability of actually closing in a sale. And there are ways to build value into these appointments, even when you're using the simple sales solution. I think that it really comes down to your belief, and it really comes down to how you set it up and how you edify the team of professionals, and what kind of referral or recommendation that you're actually making. So I'm going to give you some really key tips to making sure that these appointments that you set are valuable ones. And then we're going to talk about confirming appointments. Again, confirmation and valuable appointments are going to be very, very pivotal for you when it comes to the closing rate for the amount of appointments that you set. Sales support and the product specialists, they're great. They're phenomenal at what they do. They're really great at asking questions and moving the appointment along and answering questions and keeping the presentation personable, and more like a consultation. And so it's our job to make sure that we're putting quality prospects in front of them. If we get quality prospects in front of the product specialist, it's a done deal. You don't have to know about the technology. You simply just have to be putting the right people together. So we're really just networkers, which is great because that's what we are as on franchise owners anyway. All right, so this is a lot of information to cover inside of an hour, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to answer questions at the end. So let's get started. What is the simple sales solution? All right. Well, first and foremost, this is where every single web center owner should begin with selling website appointments. Okay. Um, I don't care if you're a professional salesperson or whatever. This is so important that every single person that first gets a web center that they start here. And there's a number of reasons why. And I'll go over those in a second. This is a learn as you go solution. When I first started selling website appointments, this is what I did. I did the recommendation approach, the referral approach, which is the simple sales approach, and it was great because it allowed me to get started without knowing a lot about the product, right? So, which is very, very important because I actually don't have a technology background. My background is in performing arts, it's in dance, it's in theater, and it's in music, and that's what I did professionally. So for me to get started and be attracted to the Web Center program, I had to figure out how am I going to make this work, and the answer wasn't to become an expert in website design. The answer wasn't to become an expert in sales. The answer was to simply leverage the system and learn as I went, plug in and learn from the teams of professionals. All right. This is something that can fit into your daily activity, right? Prospects are everywhere. We're going to talk about different levels of commitment in a little bit. And if your level of commitment is, I just want to simply fit web centers into my daily activities where it makes sense, this is something that you can do. Now, with simple sales, that doesn't mean that that's the only level of commitment that you can have. I'm just saying that this is an option for you. It's the referral approach, right? You're not going to be claiming to be an expert in web design or marketing or advertising. It's simply that you're making a strong referral. All right. And that's really key to understand is that you're not going to all of a sudden be a web development or marketing or advertising specialist, which is really important, right? Because most of us are not those things. Most of us are not really equipped to answer those kinds of questions. But we are equipped to make really good recommendations and referrals the same way that we recommend and refer, prospects to specific product lines that we sell or to anything else. I just actually saw The Hobbit in 3D with my family earlier today at 3 o'clock, and it was an incredible movie. Now, I'm not a movie making expert and I'm not, a casting expert expert, or I don't know anything about special effects, but I know that I loved the movie and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was done really well, and I would highly recommend that you see it, right? And I'm making that recommendation based on the fact that I know it was a great movie, right? And so somebody that hears me make that recommendation, they're going to take that referral seriously because I've seen it, right? So we're going to talk about how this can be applied to web centers when we talk about how to make referrals for web centers, okay? This is the perfect way to recommend the solution to people on your names list, and you're not going to have to answer technical questions or handle objections. I'm going to tell you why in a little bit. All right, let's talk about what it is not. Very important to understand what Simple Sales is not about. It is not about owning a web development company, right? You're not. I hear it a lot where people say, Motives is a business within a business, or Web Centers is a business within a business. It's true, but with Web Centers, what's really nice about it is it doesn't have to begin that way. If you want it to turn into a business within the business, you can. If you want to grow into having like a side business where you're more direct and you use the networking approaches, that's fine, but that's not where you begin, right? And it's not where you have to end up either. This is literally a referral approach that is very, very effective, you guys. It's incredibly effective, and it's incredibly easy, and in some ways it's the smartest way to sell website appointments. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. This is not about you turning into some sort of salesperson, okay? In fact, the old school ways of selling, they just don't work anymore. Ask anybody that used to go out and cold call, or ask anybody that used to go door to door. Those are antiquated ways of selling. But this is the referral approach and recommendation and conversational marketing, and simply just connecting the right people with the right people. People are hungry and desperate for that kind of interaction. They just want that personalization in this crazy over technological advanced world, right? They just want that, and that's something that we can give to people. We can give people strong recommendations and make things easier for people. um, this is not about you learning the technology. I didn't know anything about the technology, but what I did know was that Market America was a great company, and they had a product that could help small businesses thrive. And that's all I knew. And that's all I really needed to know, because when I met business owners, or when I talked to business owners, I knew that I had something that could help them. And that's really all I needed to know. It's the same thing like with OPC3, right? If you meet somebody, or you know somebody that's struggling with asthma or struggling with allergies or whatever, you know that you have your hands on a product that might be able to help them, right? So you would make that recommendation. It's literally the same thing. It's just a different client, it's a different prospect, and it's a different product that we're recommending to help somebody with. All right. This is not at all in any way, shape, or form about cold calling. And it's not about you having to handle objections or to deal with people that tell you they don't need a website, or they don't think what we have is great. It's not about that. It's about making referrals. And if you can take one thing away from tonight, take that away. Take away that if you could just eliminate the pressure and the need to learn a lot about technology and about the product and all of that other stuff, and just instead focus your energy on helping people, I think you're going to communicate in a completely different way, and you're going to have a lot more success with setting appointments. Okay, so before we get started about what it is and who we're going to be reaching out to and what to say to them, I just want to let everybody know that this is the reason that I've been able to duplicate web centers in my business. I'm telling you guys, if you complicate the process for people, or if you put a lot of pressure on learning the wrong things, it's very difficult to do this. And it's just like anything, really. I mean, you can spend all of your time trying to figure out the science behind isotonics, or you could simply match product to people, right? And if you can have that product to people mentality with web centers, I really believe that you're going to have a lot more success. So the product to the person is a person that could benefit from having a better web presence, and hooking them up with what? an appointment, right? An appointment with a team of professionals that are going to be able to answer your prospects' questions, that are going to be able to give them the information that they need to make a decision, right? In no way, shape, or form are you that person that needs to be equipped to answer all of those questions. It's matching product to people. And if you can keep it that simple and spend your time doing things that are result producing, like setting appointments, like following up, like networking, that's what's going to make you money. Okay, so it all starts with a names list. Okay, this names list is taken right out of the Web Center Getting Started Guide. That Getting Started Guide is available for download at mawc411.com. Under Getting Started, there's a great Getting Started guide. This names list is actually in there. You can download it, you can fill it out. I highly recommend that you do this. You can't skip this step and get started the right way. You just can't. But what's important to know is with the simple sales solution, we're generally only working with the first three columns and then also the fifth column as well, because there's follow up involved in anything, right? So we're going to be working mostly with our names list of people that we know that already own a business, right? So your neighbor that owns a contracting company, or your sister that owns a daycare, or whoever that owns a business, right? The second column is who do I know that works for a small business? Now, these are employees of small to medium sized businesses, right? They would be your paralegals, your waiters and waitresses, your bartenders, your dental assistants, your medical uh, process, paperwork processing people. I don't know what the name of that actual profession is, but I know a lot of people that do it. These are nurses and cooks and anybody that works for a small to medium sized business. Your people that paint houses. There's so many people that we know that are employees and have a direct line to a business owner, and there are ways to talk to these people that to get in front of the right people and to make recommendations and to leverage simple sales with an employee base. I mean, guys, this is actually probably, in my opinion, one of the most underutilized lists of names that people have. We all know people that wait tables, that do these jobs and can get us in front of the right people. We just need to know how to talk to them, right? And then the third column is who do we know that we do business with? Where do we go out to eat? Who is your dentist? Where do you get your car work done? Do you get your hair done? Do you get your nails done? Do you have a seamstress? Do you have a dry cleaner? Do you have, a dance studio or karate studio that your kids go to? My kids go to a gym for gymnastics. There's just so many places that we're currently doing business with, and these are a great place to get started. So the benefit of working within this warm list, this warm names list, is this. There's already a strong relationship there, right? Now, some of the relationships are going to be stronger than others, right? You might not actually know the owner of a restaurant that you eat at often, but there is an initial level of trust that's there because you are a patron of theirs, right? You are a customer of theirs. You're not somebody that's soliciting them. You are a customer first, and you're just having a conversation. So that first little bond, right? That warmness, that easy, no pressure situation is key to getting started with talking to business owners and doing business B2B. And it's key because you don't have to start from scratch, right? Now, when you get more advanced in selling, or if you run out of names on your names list, I did an entire webinar a few weeks ago about working with cold markets, right? Business owners that we don't know, and how to eventually move them into some column of this names list, right? Because again, that's where we're at right now in 2013. The first day of 2013 is we're in conversational marketing. There's more value in that than there is in cold calling. So it's really, really great to get started with a warm names list. So I really want to recommend that you do that. When you're building out your names list, you want to dig really deep, okay? You don't want to just, really quickly go through this and get like a couple of names and then just pick up the phone and go. There are some preparatory steps that you need to take. And the first step is having an actual names list with enough names to work with. I say try the Yellow Pages approach, which is going through a list of industries and letting that be a memory jogger for who do you know who, right? So if you flip to the end of your yellow book and you open it up, the first thing there will be like, either air conditioning or accounting or whatever. And just think of every accountant that you know, or everybody that you know that worked for an accountant. Not just Do not just sit there and open up the yellow pages and write down every accountant that's listed and then give them a call. What you want to do is like literally use that as a memory jogger for business owners that you know, or people that work for those. So when you get past accounting, you'll go to air conditioning and heating. Do you know any companies that you've done business with for that? Do you know anybody that works for one of those, right? By the way, this approach works with the unfranchised as well. You can totally open it up to, or open up like a baby names book, right? And the first name would be Adam. Who do I know that's named Adam? Who do I know that's named Ashley? Who do I know? You know what I mean? Same thing. If you use these things as joggers, memory joggers, your list will be a lot larger than if you don't, and you're just kind of going off of who you can think off the top of your head at the time of making the names list, right? But the only rule is this: when you are using these approaches, you must keep it warm, right? Meaning it has to be someone that you know. You don't just open up these books and just write down everybody that is listed there. The same way you wouldn't open up the white pages and start calling down everybody in the white pages and asking them if they'd like to see the plan. You definitely don't want to do that for web centers. It's very inefficient to cold call. It's a harsh thing to do. It's an old school antiquated technique. It doesn't really work anymore. People don't like to be solicited at all. I don't like it either. I don't think that you do either. I don't know about you, but the last time that, actually this whole last week, I got a lot of solicitations. I had a lot of people calling me about cruises, a lot of people calling me about home security systems. I had someone call me about a timeshare, and it was really, really obnoxious to me to be interrupted in the middle of my day and have somebody ask me if I wanted to take time to listen to what they're selling. I just think it's crazy that people are still doing that. But anyway, it doesn't work. And if you wouldn't like someone to do that to you, just think how that would go over with other people, right? We want to keep it warm. We want to be working within people that we know or through people that we know, so that we can be more efficient and more effective. All right. Another thing that you can do with your names list to get it going is leverage Facebook or Twitter or any of those really, highly effective social networking sites like LinkedIn. This is a great way for you to stay connected with friends, and with places that you do business with, right? So take some time, when you have a couple minutes, and locate some of your favorite places of business on Facebook and like them, right? This will, if you're liking their places of business or people that own businesses or people that work for businesses and you're friends with them, this is a great way for you to be in conversations and stay connected with people, right? It's not an opportunity for you to spam or mass message people about things. In fact, that's the quickest way to not get results and to actually like get yourself non-permission to talk to people, right? um I don't know about you guys, but I don't respond well to mass messages, especially on Facebook and especially via text message. I got so many mass holiday text messages this past couple of weeks, and I thought that was really impersonal, right? It was hard to respond to those when someone sends you and 50 other people in their contact list happy, new year and all these wishes, and you're like, you weren't really thinking of me. You just clicked my name and included me in some mass text message. We've gotten so lazy that we can't even send somebody a text message one on one anymore. It's like, it's kind of crazy if you think about it. But if you took the time to stay in touch with people, and just ask questions and stay in contact, that's going to lead to better relationships. Those are more valuable uses of your time, right? And remember your positioning, right? You're not soliciting people on Facebook. You're just using this as a way to stay connected and to get into conversations. I'll give you specific examples of those conversations when we get to that point of the presentation, but just remember how you're going to use the people on this names list. It's not a solicitation thing, especially with simple sales. Um, the next thing that you're going to do preparatory wise is you're going to define your names list a little bit more. So this takes a little bit of time, right? But I truly believe if you take the time to define your names list before you contact it, the quality of that contact is going to be a lot better than if you don't. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through each name in each column, and you're just going to take a minute and look them up online. You're going to find out just a little bit of information. Do they have a website at all? Is that website any good if they do have one? If they have one, does it look like it's been updated in a while? Does it say who designed it? Was it a Yellow Page company website, or was it designed by them, or was it designed by a great company? Just having a tiny bit of information about each person on that names list is going to help you because number one, you're going to be more confident when you're talking to them because you're going to know a little bit about them. And number two, the types of questions that you're going to be leading up to are going to be different, right? And you're going to be more prepared for the kinds of responses that you're going to get. And if you're prepared and you know that their website hasn't been updated in a while, then you're going to be more prepared to ask them questions about what? Well, why hasn't your website been, updated in a while? Or, how do you update your website? Or do you have somebody helping you with that? Those are, you're going to be prepared to ask those kinds of questions when you reach out to people on your names list. And so I just think it helps. I think it really makes a big difference in the way that you communicate when you're reaching out to people on your list. So now that you have that solid list, let's talk about how you're going to actually put it to work, right? You have a solid names list. It's defined. You have just a few little notes about each person on it. It doesn't have, and by the way, those notes don't have to be crazy extensive. It's just, just knowing if they have one or not, and if it's a good website or not, in your opinion, or whatever is good enough. But just having a little bit of information about it is key. But it's important that now that you have this list, you understand your positioning, right? If you don't understand your answer to what is it and what your goal is behind, when you're talking to these people, you're going to be extremely awkward. You're not going to communicate well. You're going to look nervous, and people are going to read it all over you, right? So how should you be, right? What is the way that you should be when you're talking to people? What is the most important thing that you can do? Well, you can be yourself, all right? You are best at being you. So it's really important that you don't deter to adopting any weird alter egos when you're using this approach or any approach, right? Any approach that you choose needs to be done in the way that you would do it. So when I'm talking to prospects on my names list, I talk to them the same way that I would talk to them if I was referring a great restaurant that I eat at, or a movie that I just saw. I talk to them real, one on one. I'm just myself. And because I'm myself, because I genuinely care about their business when I'm asking them questions about their business, people, respond well to that. And I set really good appointments. But it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm, showing them a portfolio of work, or that I'm, really impressive with my level of education or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. It has 100% to do with the fact that I'm just me, and I don't compensate for anything else. I'm just myself, right? And I'm myself with a genuine interest in them. And that is enough to build some value and to build some trust to get them to move and commit to the next step, which is an appointment, right? Your job is as simple as that. Your job is to be yourself, to talk like yourself, and to ask a bunch of questions. And when the timing is right, after those questions are asked, to make a referral, right? There are a couple of things that you can do to build your own belief so that when you are talking, you are confident. And some of those things that you can do is check out some examples of the Design Center's work. Right? If you've seen some examples of what our design center can do, then you're gonna understand that they do quality designs. And so when you make a recommendation that they should check out our design center, you're going to believe that, right? It's going to be it's just like before you recommend a restaurant, you should eat at the restaurant. Well, it's the same thing with web centers. If you check out some of the design center proofs, it's like eating at the restaurant. It's like seeing firsthand that the designs are great and that you're making a strong recommendation. Also, check out some of the testimonials of what our customers are saying about their experiences with MA Web Centers. Now, you can check out Design Center examples and also testimonials from customers right on mawc411.com. If you go to that and then the MAWC team, you can scroll down to any of the departments of teams professionals that we have, which are the Design Center, tech support, the product specialist, and a little bit about SEO teams. And each of those sections has information about what those teams of professionals do and some examples of what they do. Also, at the very end of the navigation on that website, there's a tab for testimonials. You can check that out. In addition to that, on our MA Web Center's Facebook page, we're constantly sharing designs and testimonials and tips and things like that. So these are all great things that build your belief. They're not there so that you can become an expert on what we offer or what our product is. It's there so that you can gain belief and you can have a strong confidence in the product, so that when you are talking to prospects, you have good posture and you're making a strong recommendation based on something you've seen and that you've read from other customers, right? These are things that you should absolutely take the time to do. Again, anything that you can do to affect the your ability to communicate honestly and organically and truthfully is going to be extremely helpful for you, and it's going to increase the amount of appointments that you set and the amount of quality appointments that you set. All right, more about positioning. This is a referral approach, okay? So you want to think about simple sales the same way that you would think about yourself recommending a great accountant or other service to someone that you know. So, for example, if you're talking with a friend and they were complaining about the fact that they just don't know where they're going to get their taxes for 2012 done this year because their last accountant, is out of business and closed down their practice, and now you have to find someone else. And let's say you know of a great accountant or a great service that comes highly recommended that either you've used or that that people have worked with and been satisfied in the past. The next logical and natural thing for you to do is to be like, well, obviously I'm not an accountant, but I know some great accountants and I can, get you an appointment with someone or get someone on the phone with you if you'd like, right? You would make that recommendation because of that professional service to your friend or coworker or whomever, because that's the right thing to do, right? Someone's, talking about something they need and a great recommendation, so you would make it, right? You wouldn't claim to be an expert in accounting. You would simply refer an accountant as a solution to a problem. Well, the same thing is true for this approach with web centers. It's the same type of referral that you would make for any MA branded product or any other professional service. When you're talking to people, and the subject of websites or web presences comes up, or social media comes up, or any other thing that has to do with online marketing, the natural thing to do would be to make a recommendation for an appointment for a solution to their problem. Now, the hard thing is how does it come up, right? How do we get it to come up so that we can make that recommendation? Well, we're going to talk about that. But first, you need to choose your level of commitment, right? Or how you're going to implement this referral approach, right? You've created a great names list. You've defined it. You understand your positioning is all about making a strong recommendation. You're working with a warm market. You're ready to go. So there's two ways that this could come up, and two situations that you would be in where using this approach would work. The first one is the I guess the passive implementation, right? This is the one that just fits into your day. And as you run into prospects, you get into conversations. Prospects are everywhere. You're always ready and you're equipped with a few questions to ask them, but it's a passive thing. You're not necessarily, maybe you're just minoring in web centers. And if you happen to run into someone, you want to know what you should say, right? And you want to know how to be prepared to get into conversations with people if the timing happens to be right. All right. That's one way to do simple sales. There's no right or wrong way. It's just a matter of what kind of results do you want and what kind of time are you willing to commit. Now, the second one is a more intentional implementation of the simple sales approach, right? Which is where you're going to make it a point to run into specific people, right? You're going to make it a point to go into that restaurant and get into a conversation. Or you're going to have lunch at that specific restaurant because you are going to make it a point to get into conversations with the manager or the owner. Or you're going to make it, a point to bring it up that next time that you're at your dental office and getting work done, whatever, right? You're going to reach out and reconnect with prospects. You may choose to pick up the phone and actually call somebody. Now, with simple sales, again, There's a very specific way that you're going to want to do this so that it's truthful and honest and easy and natural, right? You may make it a point to reach out to one prospect per day. In fact, I think that if everybody just did that, if everybody just made a commitment in 2013 to reach out to one website prospect a day, the difference between the amount of sales you made in 2012 and the amount of sales you make in 2013 will be astronomical. I can't imagine. I mean, I can easily imagine it being at least double your productivity, if not more. One prospect a day is going to be a lot better than talking to 10 once every couple of weeks. Okay. And there's power in those numbers. Trust me. The other part about the intentional implementation is you identify prospects with a need and you reach out to them and you offer a solution to a problem, which is what? An appointment. So whether you're choosing to simply fit this into your daily activities and be passive and just be ready, or if you're going to be more intentional with your approach and the most important thing is your demeanor, right? People are going to buy into your belief. We talked about this. There's things that you can do to build your belief, but people will buy into your belief. So make sure you're ready for that. Make sure you've taken a look at some of these things so that when you're talking to people, you're talking to them in a good way. It's important that these conversations be natural and organic to you, right? You cannot switch into sales mode. You have to be completely 100% yourself, making a strong recommendation. That is the most important thing about simple sales. So let's talk about some specific examples, okay? So there were three columns mainly that we would be working with, right? We're going to start with the employee column, or the people that we know that work for a small to medium sized business. So, for example, let's say you have a friend that's a paralegal at a law firm, right? I'm sure that almost everybody on the webinar tonight knows a paralegal or a waitress or someone like that, right? So let's say you're hanging out with your friend and you're having dinner, or you picked up the phone, or you're Facebook chatting them, or however you happen to be in front of this person, right? Um, Most important thing though is that you're not calling them up in the middle of their workday or something like that, because that's just not efficient for them, and it's kind of rude actually. So we don't want to interrupt people. But I mean, the best situation that you can be in is one that is social. So if you can be chatting or text messaging or talking on the phone or having dinner or whatever, let's say you see this friend once a week anyway, wait for that time that you're going to see them and plan to talk to them at that point. That's going to be the best case scenario for you. So, hey, what's up? How have you been? Oh, great, awesome. All of these natural things that you talk to your friend about anyway. So, what's new? How's work going? Right? So, do you see what I did there? I was talking to them. Now, this is an art of conversational marketing, right? Talking to my friend about things that I talk to them about anyway, things about how they're doing, what's new, how were the holidays, did you see so and so over your holiday break? Great. So how's work going? Right? These are natural questions that we ask our friends. How's work? How are things at work? Great. So have you guys been getting a lot of new clients? Oh, really? That's awesome. You guys have been getting a lot of clients. That's so rare in this economy, and the way things have been going. That's really, really great. I'm so happy to hear it for you guys. So is your website at least helping to handle some of that for you guys? Really? Oh, well, how's your website doing anyway? So you see what I did is I transitioned from very natural questions to this key question here, which is how is work going, to, oh, okay, a specific question about their job. How have you guys been getting a lot of clients? Now listen, if my friend that I was talking to is a waitress, I wouldn't ask them this specific question. I'd say, so is the restaurant been busy? Right? How, are you busier? Are your shifts pretty busy at night, or, your lunch? I know you have the lunch shift. Has it been pretty busy? Really? Oh, okay. And then you just ask questions that make sense, right? So really, that's great. My friend is telling me that they have a lot of new clients coming in. So I'm not going to say, well, is the website helping you to get a lot of new clients? Because, that's not really important to them. What's important, what could be important is the website helping to handle some of the extra, stress and burden and pressure that comes with having a lot of new clients, right? So how's the website doing anyway? It's a very natural progression. So remember this though, the person that is asking the question is the one that's controlling the topic of conversation. So if I ask them, how's business going or how's work, they're going to answer how things at work are. If I ask them, how's your website doing, or hey, do you guys have a website anyway? They're going to answer that question. They're not going to just ignore me and move on. But it's important that you're communicating, right? It's important that you're asking questions in a logical sense, that you're listening. Very, very important there, that you're listening to the responses and then asking a question that makes sense after that, right? It's more important to get good at asking questions than it is to get good at answering them, especially with simple sales. It's good, it's more important in networking approaches as well, but with this approach, it's really, really key to get good at asking questions and not to talk at them, not to be interesting and know everything and whatever, but just to be interested. If you can be interested in how things are going, then you're going to be able to progress the conversation along. All right. So when you do this, when you do finally ask the question of how's your website doing anyway, there are really four different things that they're going to say. They're going to say either the website's been great, and that's fine. Just leave it at that. It's not your job to say, are you sure it's doing great, and convince them that their website is terrible. But it's more important that you just follow up and see how they're going in a little bit, right? Let it be, or they're going to say that the website is doing terrible. That's fine. Now you have cause and reason to help them. Or maybe they're going to say they don't have a website. Again, that's great for you. Now, again, you have a reason to keep asking questions and to move them into a solution to their problem. Or maybe they're working on it. Great. Ask them more questions. How long have they been working on it? Are they happy with the process? What are they doing specifically? So let's say they say that the website is doing terrible. Now, before I get into these responses to questions, I want to be very clear. This is not a section on handling objections, right? Handling objections are things that salespeople do. What I want to do is I want to equip you with the right kinds of questions to ask them if they give you specific responses. Now, no matter what, their response is going to fall into at least one of these four columns. If you get anything other than that, that's an anomaly. But feel free to send me an email and maybe I can help you with that. But generally, it's going to fall into one of these four things. So here are some more questions that you can ask. If they say it's terrible, then ask them some more probing questions. This is your opportunity to keep this conversation going. Why is the website doing terrible? What's wrong with it? What is your website not doing that you wish that it was doing, right? Be confident here when you're asking more questions. When they say the website is doing terrible, it's important that you ask them at least another question or two before you make the recommendation to hook them up with your people. Okay. Do not skip asking them these more probing questions. You want to make sure, because this is actually going to build more value into your appointment. Okay, it's important that you don't skip this section. And because they're really great qualifying questions that you can ask them before you set your appointments. If they say they don't have a website, it's the same thing. Ask more questions. Well, why not? Have you guys thought about having one? Why haven't you guys gotten a website yet? What's been keeping you from getting one? It's 2013. You guys should definitely have one. Um, Again, keep asking questions based on their answers to get the information that you want and to set a quality, well qualified, valuable appointment. If they say that we don't have one, if they, but anyway, here's the thing. They might say they don't have one. They might say it's terrible. They might say, we have one, but it hasn't been updated in a while. There's all kinds of things that they could say, and it's all going to lead to the same thing. It's all going to lead right up to setting an appointment, right? At the right time, you've asked a few questions. It says 5 to 10. I don't really think there's a number associated with the right amount of questions to ask, especially when we're dealing with warm markets. Warm markets mean that you already have some sort of established relationship. So if you're talking to your sister or your best friend, you may not need to ask as many questions as if you would if you were talking to a restaurant owner that you just happen to eat at their restaurant, right? So when you feel like you have a good handle on what's wrong and what the problem is, then you can put the right statement out there to make the appointment. That statement communicating would be, you know, um, Teresa, this isn't an area that I'm specializing in, but obviously you know me, we're friends. But the company that I work with, they have an entire division that they help businesses like yours effectively leverage the internet. I'd be so happy to set up an appointment to have one of our product specialists take about 30 minutes and show the lawyers at your firm, our technology, and just see if maybe that might have some value for the business. What typically works best for you, mornings or afternoons? Okay. This is not a script. This is a recommended uh, thing that you should communicate. Right now, this is the word for word thing that that they tell you, but really what you're communicating is this. This is why it works. You're saying you work with a great company who. So you're putting weight in that referral. It's sort of like saying, I ate at a great restaurant, you should try it. Or I just saw The Hobbit in 3D, you should watch it. You're saying, I work with a great company who. So that is already a valuable referral. You're not just saying, like, I don't specialize in this, but you should try it. That would sound insane. You definitely don't want to go around and tell people that you don't specialize in something, but you recommend that they try this, right? But you are saying, I work with a great company who. You are saying, I don't specialize in the area, right? So there's not going to be any pressure for you to answer any technical questions or any questions about the product. But what you are saying is that you're going to get them the answers that they need. You're going to get them those answers because you're going to get them on the phone with the right people who will answer their questions, right? You're making a solid referral. And we'll talk more about confirming in a little bit. But it's also very important that you set the appointment with the right people. Now, when you're talking with people that are employees of small to medium sized businesses, it's important that you make sure that those appointments are set with the business owners or the decision makers of that business. So let's say your friend, the paralegal, handles all of their advertising decisions and can enter into contracts, and that's fine. Then fine, you can set an appointment with that paralegal. But most likely, the lawyers of the firm or the people that own the firm or people that are in charge of marketing and advertising decisions are the ones that are going to make those decisions. And it's important that you talk to your friend about getting them on the phone, right? And so have your friend talk to the lawyers and or the people in charge and say, okay, one would be great. Basically, here's the thing. The people that own that firm are going to really, really put a lot more weight in the referral coming from your friend, the paralegal, than they are from some, Joe Schmo that's calling through the yellow pages and trying to solicit people, right? Um, Very often, small to medium sized businesses are run by groups of people and 20 people or less, right? So people know each other and they're all part of a team and they're all part of a team that's working to make somebody's vision come true. So there's some trust there, and that's great. So that's why it works to go through employees. I'm telling you guys, my sister-in-law is like the queen of this. Actually, she's in school for criminal justice. My brother is a cook at a restaurant, and they are masters of this. They don't go out and claim to be experts in web development, but they have a lot of friends because they're young, they're in their early 20s. They have a lot of friends that are waitresses. They have a friend, or her sister worked at a solar company. They have a lot of friends that are working in roofing and siding companies, and it's so easy to go through their friends to get in front of the right people. All right, another example is your business owner column, right? Who do I know that owns a business? So, my example that I'm going to give you for tonight is your neighbor that owns a painting company, right? We all have a neighbor or a friend that has a construction company or a painting company or a roofing company or something like that, or a handyman company or something like that, right? Something of that nature. So, let's say you're talking with your neighbor and you're just, you guys are shoveling or whatever, or it's the winter out here, it's crazy, and you get into a conversation with them. Hey, what's up? How have you been? What's new? How's work going? You notice that the first three questions are very similar to the first three questions I would ask somebody that works for a small to medium sized business, right? Business owners that I know, I treat pretty much exactly the same way as people that work for small to medium sized businesses. You still need to keep it social. You still need to keep it happy and warm and natural, and being interested in how things are going, right? So you still want to start off the same way and ask them how things have been. So have you been getting a lot of new clients, right? Oh my gosh, would love to refer you guys to my friend. You guys have a website. Really? You don't? Well, why not? wow, have you ever thought about getting a website, right? It's all leading to the same thing. Once I ask this key question of how work's going, I'm now asking permission to talk about work, right? And if my neighbor answers, well, work has been kind of slow, I'll just say, okay, well, you guys have been getting a lot of new clients. I know say it's slow, but have you been getting any new ones on top of your existing ones? Oh, really? Well, I'd love to refer you guys to a friend of mine, but do you guys have a website that I can, have them check out? Right? You see how that this one question, how's work going? It just literally opens the door for you to eventually, lead up to, do you guys have a website? And then to ask more questions from there, right? Now, here's the thing, guys. We talked earlier about defining our names list. So it's very likely that we already know that they do or do not have a website. Now, the only reason that we define that names list is because now, me going into this, especially as a new person, it's really, really great for me to already know this information because then I don't have to deal with nerves as much. If I already know that they don't have a website, I know that I need to be prepared to ask them, why not? Or have you thought about getting one? Or what have you tried? Right? Again, it all leads up to, do you have a website? The magic is in having a good reason for asking this question. Now, what is the reason that I asked that question? Well, in this situation, I asked how work was going, I asked the permission, but my reasoning was I would love to refer you guys to my friends, right? Do you guys have a website? That's a really nice transition into, do you have a website? Um, you must ask this question to have quality context made toward your goal. Now, I just ran a 90-day fast track, and it was a very, very successful 90-day fast track. They did like $250,000 worth of website sales in 12 weeks, and it was about 200 people. So that's really, really great. And we did 3 contacts a day, and one of those contacts every day was about talking to website prospects, right? Now, the quality of those contacts, it varied, right? Now, a quality contact led up to that question of, do you have a website? Now, an initial contact was just me getting reconnected with prospects. Now, yes, that is eventually going to lead up to there, but just understand that when you're measuring your success for how many people you talk to versus how many appointments you set versus how many end in a sale, just realize that the really quality ones that you should be counting are the ones that lead up to that question of, do you guys have a website? Because if you're not leading up to that question, then you're not asking permission to ask more questions, and then you're not, leading up to the point where you can actually make a strong referral. It all leads up to the same thing. It's a game of question asking. So if you can get good at listening and asking the right questions, you're going to get really great at setting appointments. All right, and the third example I want to give is places that you do business with, right? So I want to give this example because everybody has one of these. Your favorite restaurant that you eat at often. And I'm going to use a phone example, all right? Because we can use the phone and save time with simple sales. So if you feel like you have very busy work days, or if you just don't get a chance to leave the house often, or you have kids at home or whatever, you can still pick up the phone when using Simple Sales Solution. It's just really about understanding your positioning and talking to the right people. So I would call up my favorite restaurant, like I already did tonight, and I would say, "Hi there, I'd like to order blah, 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 blah. By the way, I have some guests over tonight and I wanted to show them your menu as well. Are you guys online? Do you have a website?" Now, notice when I called them up, I didn't call up my favorite restaurant and ask the same questions I asked my neighbor, the painter. I didn't call up and be like, "How are things? How's work going? How's this?" You don't want to get into a conversation like that when you're picking up the phone and calling your favorite restaurant. Now, some situations when you're picking up the phone and let's say you're calling your friend or your sister, it's appropriate to have those conversations first and talk about how things are going. But if you're calling up a restaurant, you definitely want to just get right to business, right? Okay, so let's say I asked the question. So I was trying to find your menu online and I wanted to show my friend your menu. Are you guys online? They say no. All right. Or they say, we have a website, but it hasn't been updated in a while. I'd say, really? It hasn't been updated in a while? Wow, why not? Okay, well, for now, I guess I'll just order some of the regular stuff, but is it possible to speak to the owner? I'd love to make a referral for someone that might be able to help you with the website. Because I'm telling you, like the menu updated would be really helpful, especially for times like right now, right? It's a really, really honest, natural, right to the point thing a way to use the simple sales approach, right? Simple sales doesn't have to mean passive. It doesn't have to mean that that you only talk to people that you magically bump into at soccer games. You can be very intentional about it, and just very, very genuine about making strong referrals. This is a restaurant that I love to eat at, and their menu hasn't been updated in a while, and I have a way that I might be able to help them. I can make a referral for getting them on the phone with some of our people in a department that I work at, right? Now listen, at this point, the restaurant, the person that picked up the phone may just patch me right through to the owner, and then you can just establish yourself as a customer and just say, hi, my name is Sarah, I'm a customer of yours, and I love eating, at your restaurant and ordering takeout as well. And you're the person answered the phone said you guys haven't been able to update your website. Why is that? Are you guys, who's doing it currently? Ask the owner a couple of more questions, and then just say, look, I personally don't specialize in this, but I work with a great company and that does have an entire division that might be able to help you. So if you want, I can get my guys on, that my guys from that department on the phone with you, and they can go over some solutions for this problem that you have. What typically works best for you, mornings or afternoons, right? So it's no different. Like, I still picked up the phone, I still asked questions, I had a reason for asking them how their website was doing. I didn't call them up and just solicit them. I didn't call them up and say, I don't specialize in this, but I'd like to set up an appointment. They just kept it natural, right? Very, very honest way to help somebody out for a business that I love doing business with. And it's that simple. Questions all leave up to the same place. Do you guys have a website? The magic is in having a good reason. What that reason was to share the menu with friends and family. And you must ask this question to have quality questions, right? Listen, I can't just call up my favorite restaurant and make an order and then ask if they have a website and then leave it at that. If I'm not leading up to that question of, do you guys have a website, and then moving it forward, it's not really going to lead anywhere unless I make a follow up call, right? The process all leads to the same place, asking questions to set up an appointment. We are not selling websites. We are not selling an online marketing strategy. We are selling appointments, no matter what approach you choose. All right, so there are other ways after those examples that you can share information, right? If you wanted to use Facebook, you could pique the interest by simply sharing some design examples from MA Web Center's, page on your on your Facebook page, right? You could say, "Wow, I work with a great company, and they have a whole division that designs websites for small to medium sized businesses. Check out some of their work. This is great," right? Or maybe you want to share some of these designs with a friend. So a friend that you've been talking with, and they say, well, I don't know. I mean, it sounds really great. So you work with this great company, and I obviously need help, and you're going to get me an appointment. Do they have any work or anything that you can share for me to check out? The answer is yeah, I can actually send you a couple of examples, and you simply just click share and you share some examples in a private message or something like that. It's just really, really important that you're not using it in a solicitation capacity, especially with simple sales solution where you're not claiming to be an expert. It's very weird for someone that's a non-expert to solicit for services, where if you're just making a recommendation of a great product, that's totally cool, right? We do that every day. We do that with products that we buy on our website or products that we have available to us. I just bought 2 new pairs of shoes from DSW, and I could totally post those on Facebook. I'm not claiming to be a shoe designer. I could just be like, gosh, DSW is having a great sale on winter boots, and I just got 2 new pairs of boots, right? Same thing with this. It's just important that you understand positioning and that you're sharing information in the right capacity. You can also share the video. So when we if you find a video or a commercial online or whatever, and you want to share a YouTube video, you can do that with people one on one, right? It's no different than if you would share a helpful website, or if someone was complaining about how bad the dating situation was and you shared like a link to some dating website. It's the same thing. You can share this video. It's available on the homepage of your web center, and you can share it, or you can share it at the mobile site, which is m.mawebcenters.com. Okay, this is what my web center looks like. You guys can, these are some of the new, actually, this is one of the new designs that MA Web Centers just gave us. So it's not a custom designed web center. This is what the company gave me. I don't have a custom website for my web center business, but right on the homepage is a really great video, which, a little secret, is being totally redone and you're going to love it. We've been working back and forth on what the new script will be and all of the new, the way that it's going to be. It's going to be such a really, really helpful selling tool for you guys. Most important is to build value. All right. With simple sales, when you're claiming to be a non expert, you run the risk sometimes of not setting quality appointments, right? And so there are things that you can do to make sure that they are valuable appointments. And the first and most important thing is to speak from an honest place, right? Market America has a high standard of excellence when it comes to our products and the services that we offer. So just understand that without a doubt that standard applies to MA Web Centers. And you have to trust in the process, right? You have to trust that there's teams of incredible professionals in the industry that are going to really offer your prospects a great product and service that's going to help their business. Make strong referrals with a series of candidates for this solution. Learn to edify the team of professionals at MA Web Centers, right? Talk up the product specialist. When you set up an appointment with someone, just make sure you talk that department up. Oh my gosh, they know so much, and I know, and you know, you said that you wish you could edit your website, and I know that they're going to be able to talk to you about that, and they're going to answer all your questions, and you're going to love it, right? Same thing that you would do with a senior business partner, right? When you're setting up an appointment with a prospect to show them the unfranchised business development plan, right? You do that and you edify the speaker, right? When you're talking about a local seminar, you edify the speaker. So when you're setting up a website appointment, go ahead and edify the product specialist. I just want to let you know that you can set appointments with the sales calendar, and these screenshots are available on mawc411.com. It's really simple, intuitive thing that you do. You click on sales calendar and you follow the steps. I'm not going to talk through these steps tonight because that's just a waste of time, and I'd rather talk about other things. But just know that these exact screenshots are available on using the sales calendar on mawc411.com. You can see it literally shows you what each step looks like, and then we'll talk more about the important stuff because we're already running out of time. All right, so what happens next? After you set that appointment, what happens is sales support does a professional appointment slash consultation with your prospect, right? So their job is to, yes, answer questions, and also to address anything that was important to them, right? So if when you have talked to your prospects, there's a section where you get to write to the sales professionals what was important to your prospect, like they don't have a website because they just don't even know where to start, or like they wish they could edit their website, or whatever was important to your prospect. You need to tell the sales support people all about that, right? So yes, they're going to address all of those things, but another thing that they're going to do is they're going to stress to your prospect that in order to be successful online, you need to be in all of these different places. You need to have a solution for an effective, professionally designed website that consumers feel good about when they actually visit. They need to be an email marketing solution, a social media solution. They need to be visible online with Google. There's databases, there's e-commerce, there's email, there's security, there's all these things that need to happen. And what the product specialist is going to do, especially with the new scripts for our product demonstrations, is they're going to stress that we make it simple. Not only do we make being online effective and we get you in all of those places you need to be, but we make it simple and we give you unlimited support in all of these areas, which is so important because if your prospect had to identify all of these things on their own, they would need to do that on their own, number one, find the time to do that, spend the money to do that, and then not even be supported in all of those areas. We make it simple. Tech support is the team of professionals that handle all of the technical follow-up. So if you email me at my web center email, which is sarah@newrealitywebsolutions.com, I have an autoresponder that says, thank you so much for sending us an email. If you're a website customer and you have a technical question, the number to call is 866 web help, right? So it lets them know that I'm not the person to answer technical questions. I teach my customers to use tech support. There's a design center, and if your customer goes with professional customized designed services, they're very, very low priced. in my opinion, very underpriced design packages that allow that where a team of professional designers will custom design the website within our system so that they can have a customized look and feel. They will design the website. We have an SEO team. Your job is simply to be a great customer manager, and follow up and make sure they're using tech support, and just make sure everybody's happy, right? And you earn retail profit and BV. So, tips for using sales support. Number one, set qualified appointments with the right people. You want to make sure that all decision makers are available for the full duration of the call. You want to confirm these appointments. You want to build value in the product specialist by edifying them. You want to make sure you tell people how great these people are so that they know that when they show up, they're not talking to just some, person that we don't know about. With simple sales, it's really kind of nice too because you can also let them know that, hey, I work with a great company who, so I'm going to make sure that I give that product specialist a call and follow up and make sure everything went okay. Is that okay if I do that? Now, um, when you're confirming appointments and you say to your prospect, hey, I'm going to make sure I call over there and let them know that I'll be following up, that just makes them feel very VIP. It makes them feel very special and very paid attention to, and it puts pressure on them to show up and pay attention, right? Because they know that you're going to be calling to make sure that they did. But it is very important to confirm appointments. So when you do confirm your qualified appointment, it's extremely important to make sure that everybody's going to be there and they're all going to be still be present. You want to make sure that you've exchanged accurate information so that if anything changes, they can contact you and reach you so that you can reschedule the appointment and vice versa. You want to make sure that the prospect knows that there's going to be some personal stuff that gets covered on that call, right? So that they know that somebody has prepared to answer their personal questions, right? When you let them know that, they know that somebody has put some work into being on this appointment, they're not going to be so, flip floppy about showing up. Really, really great. So anyway, I want to end with this: a checklist for succeeding with simple sales or for implementing it. Number one, have a names list and define it, right? Number two, understand your approach, your answer to what it is, right? Choose a commitment level. Will you be passive about this or are you going to be intentional about this? You need to care about your prospects and ask them questions and genuinely have an interest in their responses. You want to make a strong referral. You want to edify the product specialist. You want to confirm appointments and you want to plug into the system. This is what you need to do to be successful. It really and truly is this simple. If you're doing things that don't fall into this checklist, then you're complicating things that don't need to be complicated. You're reinventing a wheel that doesn't need to be reinvented. So I would highly recommend that you go through this checklist, that you make sure that you do these steps in the right order, and you do them and you rinse and repeat so that you can see some great results. So that's everything I've got. So if you have any questions, go ahead and send them to the bottom and I will be sure to answer them on the call. All right. So I see a couple of questions.